Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us again for another LASBA podcast. I'm Steve DeRoos, Executive Director of the Los Angeles Southern Baptist Association. And today we have something kind of special. We're going to be talking to Ron Reynolds about church security, something I think we don't really talk about much. We're real good about talking about evangelism and theology and all these other things, but some of the nuts and bolts stuff like church security and what do we need, how do we need it, when do we need it. So we brought in the expert on this, and Ron, thanks for being here.
Steve, thank you for inviting me on the LASBA podcast.
You're welcome. Give us a brief bio on how you got here doing all of this.
Okay. Yeah, I had a background in security, starting probably in the early 90s. I went through the LA County Sheriff's Academy, and I fractured my leg 3 weeks before graduation during the Rodney King incident. And from there, I took a break. They went into a hiring freeze. So I went back to school, got my BS in criminal justice. And from there, I took a turn with taking a little break from that. But eventually, I came back around when my wife and I had kids. We wanted to send our kids to a private Christian school, and I ended up working as a church security and school security guard there. And that's where I got my first real experience doing security work. And from there, after about 7 years of doing that, I opened up my own company with my partner, and we were basically dispatching guards to businesses and churches and whatever companies needed guard service. And did that for about 3 years. And from there, I ended up going to First Baptist Church in Norwalk after we closed that company. And that's where I met Pastor Miguel. Actually, we went to the same church probably about 15 years prior. He kind of recognized me. And their church was inundated with crime and transients. And they had transients in the parking lot, transients living in vehicles, and involved in illegal activity. And our church was a mess, basically. It really did affect our congregation. I believe a lot of people probably weren't comfortable going to church there. And so I approached Miguel, and he was very, very reactive. I basically told him having no plan is the worst plan of all. And his eyes opened up, and he's like, okay, what do you suggest we do? And I was like, okay, let me work on it, and I'll come back and have a plan for you. And that's where I got my boys involved, and the three of us were basically the security team at that time. And this was prior to 2025. The laws changed a little bit starting January 1st, 2025. I'll go into that a little bit. But yeah, we called ourselves a security team, and basically I was just basically an expert witness and reporter. If we saw anything out of the ordinary, our protocol was to call public safety or call the sheriff's department and create a welcoming environment for our church. And after about 90 days of doing that, I'd say we had really drastic results. The church was doing really well. And after about a year, it's been going so well that people don't even notice we have a security team there. And so that's basically how I started. And from there, we opened up Church Century for a couple of reasons. One, Colton, my son, he's a programmer. And our idea is to come up with an app that would aid churches and safety teams to document and record all incidents on their phone, on an app, have everything backed up in a database that can be searched and given to law enforcement, given to insurance companies, and just for documenting purposes, which is pretty huge. And we'd also like to include something for children's ministries where we can check in and check out children using the app as well. So while that's in development, I took the other side and said, okay, well, I'm going to offer some consulting services for now until we get this app up and running. And that's how we started Church Sentry. Yeah.
Okay. So when you talk about security, you mentioned a lot of things there. When I hear the word security, the first thing that comes to my mind is someone coming in and attacking. You know, unfortunately, we've heard of incidents just recently. You know, much more than a week ago, where somebody went into a church and just started shooting. They go into synagogues and do stuff like that. Do you handle that kind of stuff? Do you assess those kind of situations?
Yeah, our goal is to mitigate that before that type of a problem comes into our church. So we've got security cameras, we've got people monitoring the parking lots, monitoring the entrance. When service starts, we only have one entrance that's open. So we're all watching that one entrance and mostly watching the parking lot. Most problems arise out of the parking lot. So if you can catch a suspicious person in a vehicle that you don't recognize that's sitting there and looking out of place, that's usually what starts it off. And just by having a physical presence, it really is a pretty big deterrence without having to do anything at all. A lot of times they'll just leave. I don't know what their intentions are, but a lot of times they'll just leave. And if they don't, then that's when we call either public safety or the sheriff's department. And we don't hesitate. If something's not right, you know, we make that call right away. Yeah.
Okay. I was just recently at First Baptist Norwalk. We had our annual meeting there, and probably a lot of you that are watching this were there. And every time I go to First Baptist Norwalk, I never thought about and realized that you had problems there, because every time I go there, it just seems nice, clean, safe. I didn't realize, you know, that you had all these problems until you started talking about it. And when I go there, yeah, it feels great. It's you know, you don't really notice that, you know. I think security is not necessarily, you know, snipers on the building, you know, or people with armed guards in front of the door. It's kind of a subtle.
Absolutely. I believe in having a open, welcoming environment for the congregation and for new people to come in and hear the message. I know we're doing our best job when people don't even notice that we're even there. I mean, the criminal element will know, because they're going to see sometimes just somebody looking at them back without saying a word is more of a deterrence than doing anything at all.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference. Yeah.
Okay. Let me switch gears a little bit. Okay, you go from somebody that might be threatening, you know, with a weapon or something like that. Now let's talk about homeless or transients on the property. How do you handle those issues?
Well, we never handle it alone. We always try to have at least two people approach to observe, to see what's going on. You know, ask them if they can leave if they're on our property or on our parking lot. And if it gets beyond that, we just back off and we call either public safety or the sheriff's department. In the meantime, we're getting a good description. We're being expert witnesses. We're explaining everything to dispatch, what's going on, and just trying to keep people safe. If we have to open up a separate door, a separate entrance that maybe is safer to use than the main entrance, which we've had to do, then we'll direct everybody, the congregation, to go in through a different door that's away from the issue or problem until law enforcement arrives.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so because churches are private property, you can call the sheriff's department or the local police department, and they can come and they can remove those people?
Yeah, it's private property. If you ask somebody to leave and they don't leave, then it's actually a crime. It's trespassing.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can call the sheriff's department and they'll come out and take it from there. You know, with all the drugs and things that are going around nowadays, especially fentanyl, People need to be very, very aware about that. I've seen people try to clean up messes after, the police ask these people to leave, and they're picking stuff up with their bare hands and they're throwing it out. And I'm just like, no, you can't do it that way. You need to have the proper PPE equipment in order to deal with stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was hearing you say in this, that there's, and I think it's because, you did go through the academy, you do have a law enforcement background, that you know proper procedure for handling certain things, because most people would just say X, Y, and Z, and that's not the information that's needed.
Yeah, actually, in the academy, the fentanyl wasn't even a thing. The drugs were much different back then, and this whole fentanyl awareness that's been coming about lately in the last couple of years is all new for us. And that's where I started researching and learning on how to properly handle mattresses or clothing or anything that's left behind on our property. We always have gloves, and if we need it, we've got masks and we've got face shields also.
Wow, so if with a drug like fentanyl, you need to really be super careful, it's that?
Yes, it can be absorbed through your skin.
Whoa.
Takes longer to be absorbed through the skin than if you were to inhale it. But either way, it's bad. If you inhale it, you're going to feel the effects right away. And I recommend all churches to have the drug that I forget what it's called, that to treat fentanyl exposure.
Right.
Yeah, we've got that at our church, and our safety team members have been trained on how to use it while we're waiting for emergency services to arrive.
That's interesting, because a lot of times people, transients or people with drug problems or whatever, sometimes they will come to church property, number one, because they don't want to be bothered. They know people aren't there during the week, but then come a time when you have a midweek service or a women's meeting or a VBS or your Sunday service, they're there, and they could have who knows what on them, and we need to know how to handle that. I think because church people want to be loving, we want to be embracing, we want to help people, but there's a certain protocol that you have to go through to determine whether someone needs help, wants help, or help is available, or to need to know, when do I make that call?
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Also, you need to be aware of safety issues when confronting transients. I've seen our own church members confront transients when they're parking. They're like, "Hey, you're in my spot. Get out of my space." I'm like, no, don't do that. Let me handle it. I'll call. Yeah. So I'm sure you've heard in the news, all the stabbings and things that have been taking place with transients, whether on private property or on public transit. You really need to take precautions when dealing with people that are trespassing on your property. Yeah.
Okay. So again, with Church Sentry, this is going to be an app, or is this going to be something that people can go to you and then you can go to the church, or how does that actually work?
Well, it's actually two services. The app is one service that's in development right now. So right now, what we're doing is we're offering consulting services to churches that have a need or want to find out how to start. We recommend starting off with a volunteer-based security team. Most churches, small churches, they can't afford to hire guards. It's a very expensive service to have to pay out of pocket for. So our whole idea is we want to train churches, let them know how to start and develop their own safety teams. And the reason why I'm switching from security to safety, I'm changing the name now, is I mentioned earlier, January 1st of this year. Prior to that, churches were exempt. They had an exemption. They were able to have their own security teams in place with no regulation from the federal government. Now SB 1454, I think is what it is, started January 1st, and if you call yourselves a security team, you're now under, you need to do it through BSIS. You need to be registered, the church needs to be registered through BSIS. The guards need to be registered through BSIS. There's a lot of red tape involved. It can be done, but usually it's the larger churches that have the deeper pockets to be able to do this. So what we're doing is we're just trying to train a safety team to come in and to learn how to observe things before it turns into a problem and report things and keep the congregation safe. When I say keep the congregation safe, it's like, you know, if I see something happening in the parking lot that I think is dangerous, I'll get on the radio and I'll say, hey, close the front doors. You know, sheriff's department's on the way. Let's keep our congregation safe. Let law enforcement deal with it. We're not law enforcement officers. We're not pretending to be, and we're not trying to be. All we want to do is protect our flock by observing and reporting before it turns into a bigger problem.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So, so you do consulting, and let me switch gears a second here. There was something I wanted to bring up. What about when the church is closed and there's vandalism problems, or people kind of coming through and you don't know what's going on? What can a church do, or do you provide some sort of consulting to help people protect the property when no one's there?
Yeah. Definitely number one is to have 4K cameras installed around the perimeter and inside the building itself. And, you know, that would offer some sort of an alert to whoever is in charge of monitoring the cameras. Our cameras are a little antiquated. They do monitor, and I am able to monitor the cameras from home, but we have not yet enabled the ability to actually get alerts. And that's something that's on our list that we're discussing, you know, in our leadership to be able to add. But yeah, cameras are a big first thing to get, you know, to monitor. Yeah.
What about lighting?
Yeah, we've got lighting all around the perimeter that comes on once it's dark, and then we've also got lighting that turns on if it detects motion. So we've got both of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you say that if going from a church that doesn't have anything set up like that, and they're having a problem with transients or people just tagging the building or whatever, and then all of a sudden you put lights, you've got motion control, you've got cameras and all this stuff, is it a dramatic difference in deterring people?
I would say it is a deterrence, but what's even more of a deterrence is if there's a human on the other end of that camera, whether at home or not, in order to take action. For instance, last year we had some transients that trespassed onto the property in the middle of the night, and I happened to be monitoring the cameras from home while I was awake, and they actually proceeded to break into our church office, and they went in through a window, and I made a phone call to somebody that lives nearby. I asked them to call the sheriff's department. I got ready and I came out and met with the deputies there. When I arrived, we already had a helicopter, and the place was surrounded with sheriff's deputies, and they were able to catch them. So that human element, I think, is very, very important. Just having cameras and lighting and hoping that it's going to be, you know, the answer to everything. It's not. You need to have a human element in there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that over time, people recognize that this is a building, this is a place that's not going to be easy to mess with. Is that kind of what happens?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
Okay. You're going to be putting on an event in January of 2026.
Yeah, January 31st. It's a Saturday. We're going to be putting on a training event, safety and security training. I still call it security because if I just call it safety, most people are like, what is that? You know, for instance, our last training was in June, and we had some LASBA churches there along with some other out-of-network churches, and we had about 20 people there. I took a poll before we started class, and I asked everybody, what do you call your team? And all of them called themselves security. I was like, well, as of January 1st, this last January 1st, you can no longer do that. You know, if you call yourself security, you need to be going through BSIS. And what you want to do is you want to, you know, call it something else. We call it a safety team. And really, that's all we are. We're not law enforcement. We're just there to keep the church safe by observing and reporting. And if we have to close doors and do stuff like that, that's what we do. Yeah.
Okay.
So as far as the training coming up, yeah, all pastors and safety team members of LASBA affiliated churches are invited to come out for free. It's usually about 3 hours.
Wait a minute. Did you say free?
Free.
Okay, good.
It's one of the services I want to offer LASBA. And Pastor Miguel has done a lot for us, and I want to return the favor, not just to First Baptist Church in Norwalk, but to LASBA also. 3 hours is usually how long we spend. Usually it's a 1 hour lecture. And then the last 2 hours are my favorite part. That's where we get into role playing and scenario based training, which a lot of people have never experienced before.
Sure, yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll create some mock events that would take place. Maybe it's a missing child from the children's ministry, or maybe it's a service disruption. We've had 3 different pastors already that I was able to put in the pulpit and let them experience what it's like to be in the pulpit during the chaos of service disruption or whatever drill we're running at the time, and give them some experience on how to deal with that also. And the beauty of the scenario-based training is we all make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes through every drill and every scenario we do. But what's great is we can all come together and we can all debrief and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should do this differently. Let's rerun the drill and see if things go a little smoother by changing this or doing this. And it's great for the safety teams to experience it. Just about every person that's come to our training had never had that type of training before.
Sure, yeah.
So that's where I'd like to make our mistakes, is during a drill and not during the real thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you're going to be holding this January 31st, 2026 at First Baptist Norwalk.
Yeah, it's hosted by First Baptist Church Norwalk, and everything's on our website. If you go to churchcentury.com, there's a link at the very top that says Security Conference, I believe. You click on that, and you can go ahead and register for yourself, for your pastor, for your safety team. Bring them down. We'd love to get to know you guys and to train you guys.
Yeah, okay. We're also going to put that on our LASBA webpage too. So if you forget churchcentury.com, just go to the LASBA webpage. We'll probably put something up on Facebook as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
To promote that, because I really think this is something, an area that most churches have not really thought much about. We only think about it when we hear of a fellow church, something happened. And then we think, oh, that was over there. We don't really think that's going to happen here in our church.
Yeah. Even that usually doesn't draw churches to start their own safety ministry until something actually happens at their own church, which is unfortunately, the case. I'd like to get the word out to as many pastors as possible, make use of the free training, make use of our free security assessment. Give me a call. I'll come out to your church, give you a free security assessment, kind of get you started in the right way. If you need anything beyond that, we do have services where, we can train a security team or safety team from the ground up. and go from there.
Okay. So what time are you going to start on January 31st?
Well,
What's the time frame?
okay, it's 9 to 12, but we're opening the doors at 8:30, and that's because my mom makes these fantastic burritos, breakfast burritos.
Oh, I'm down. I'm down.
So yeah, we'll open the doors at 8:30. Get everybody fed, and start the training at 9, end at 12.
I'll be there at 8:15. Let your mom know. That's super. I really appreciate that. I want to follow up on something. You said you'll go out to churches and do an assessment for free.
Yes.
And so when you say an assessment of inside, outside, all of the above, or?
Yeah, we start on the perimeter, walk the perimeter, check lighting, check any issues that we're going to make recommendations on what the church may consider to change. And then we'll go through the inside, and then we'll also find out whatever issues or problems they've been experiencing and put together a little written assessment for them to get them started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any ballpark figure on why all churches are different, so I wouldn't want to do that. I was going to say, what would it roughly cost for the church to put lighting around, but they're all different, so
we could make some recommendations for companies, but yeah, they would have to find out for their own specific needs what it would cost. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd also just want to let people know that, churches, we do have a church building fund with LASBA churches, so that if, say, Ron comes out and you need X, Y, and Z, and you don't quite have enough money to do that, and you might need some help with that, there is a way that we might be able to help you do that. We're not going to obviously pay for every single church all of this, but if your church needs help doing these kind of things, help can be available, because I don't think you can really hold off security. I think it's something.
Yeah, we're in a different day and age now, where I believe it's a lack of responsibility not to have some sort of safety team in place. Yeah.
Yeah, and another follow-up, when you're talking about the laws change now and you can't use the word security unless you go through the state stuff, how long does that process take for a church to be certified, roughly?
Well, with or without the shutdown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Every time I've ever had to call BSIS, I was a PPO, so I dealt with them for a while. Anytime I've had to call, it's always been a very, very long wait. It's hard to get a hold of people. It's a lengthy process, but that doesn't mean you can't start now with having a volunteer-based safety team in place. If you're a larger church and that's the direction you want to go in, great, but you could put something in place within 90 days that will make a big difference.
So for the majority of churches, they can do it from within.
Yeah, especially the smaller churches, I highly recommend starting with a volunteer-based team and then reassessing after 90 days or a year. And if you need something above and beyond that, then you can go the other route, Yeah.
And then the training for those individuals is extremely important, so they can know what to do, what not to do, boundaries.
Absolutely. Use of force is huge. We basically, for us, we train our team that we don't go hands-on. I mean, if there's a disruption and there's no physical threat, we don't go hands-on. We call the sheriff's department, let them come out, let them do that. They're law enforcement. The only time we would ever go hands-on is if one of us is attacked or one of our people's attacked. That's something different. But other than that, we always let law enforcement deal with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's really good. That's a lot of information that I think a lot of people aren't really aware of. I think this is something, I think you've tapped on something here that is really essential for churches. As we kind of wrap up here, is there any last thoughts, anything
Yeah.
Didn't say?
Yeah, I'd really like to get the awareness out to pastors. I really truly believe that for something like this to be, taking off with more churches, we really need to get the pastors involved. When I talk to security teams, other security team members or safety team members, I don't want to say there's a little pushback, but they don't know who I am, and they're like, "Well, who are you to tell us, how to do things or whatever?" And I really want to break down those barriers, and I believe it starts with the pastors in order to communicate with their safety teams. If they don't have a safety team, have them send out a couple of people that might be interested in starting a safety team to our next training session. And maybe that's the beginning of their safety team right there. Yeah. And I want to encourage pastors to come out too, to get the same type of experience so they know what we're doing. They get to know us. And also I want to mention during the last LASBA meeting at our church, I was down. I only had 3 out of 4 safety team members. 3 out of 4 were not able to make it. It was just me. So what I did is I reached out to prior people that came to our safety conferences, and I was able to get kind of like a mutual aid type of thing going on.
Interesting.
First Bilingual Baptist Church of Pico Rivera, I called them up, and Tony, their safety director, said, "Absolutely, how many people do you need?"
There you go.
And it was just that easy to pick up a phone, and because we're starting to develop this network of people, and I'd like to see in the future where if a church is in need, they could pick up the phone or go to our website and find that little extra help they may need for an event. Or
Sure, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Wow, Ron, this has been really informative. I can kind of already see we're probably gonna need to do another one of these, especially leading up to the event that you have in January, and maybe even something afterwards.
Absolutely.
Something like that. So, any last thoughts on anything we didn't cover? We didn't.
I think that should do it. And I just really appreciate you, inviting me on the podcast. I just want to mention it was pretty ironic. Well, actually, it's God's providence. A couple weeks before I reintroduced myself to you, I was talking to the boys at one of our business meetings, and I was like, "Man, I'd really like to figure out how to get on the LASBA podcast." And before I could even mention that to you, you invited me to the LASBA podcast. Did Miguel have something to do with that? No.
Who's Miguel? No, I just Miguel sent me a little email one time. He says, "We have this guy that does security thing. Could you give him a little shout out on the deal?" And I saw it and I said, "Yeah, sure." And we put it up on the website.
I appreciate
that.
And
then when I saw you again, I'm always looking for podcast opportunities.
Yeah.
So whenever I see anything, the whole purpose of a LASBA podcast is to give you information and create pathways for things and resources that maybe your church doesn't have, or to highlight something that maybe you haven't thought about, like security and things like this. And so anybody, if you have an idea for a podcast or something, please get a hold of me. But whenever I hear anything or I see something like that, it's like, man, that would make a great podcast, because it's not about just talking about nothing. It's talking about something and apply it and make it useful. And these kind of things aren't one-time events. This is something that we would have to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely.
On a yearly, biannual basis, and then you never know. I'm always talking about LASBA, that a lot of things we're doing, home associations or in the state is not doing, and so we can kind of create a template for other associations and other churches to develop from, and we can share better that way ideas. So Ron, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it, and I look forward to the conference and working with you. And so again, if they want to get a hold of you, it's
churchcentury.com.
Churchcentury.com.
Yeah.
Okay. And so get that down, churchcentury.com. You want to get a hold of Ron. If not, just call LASBA or go on our webpage and we'll have the information there for you. But please take advantage of this. So I just want to thank all of you for watching. And before you go, if you would do us a super favor, hit like and hit subscribe. That way, whenever we have a podcast, you will get a subscription on it. You'll know it's there. More likes we get, more people see it. And so send these things out to all the people that you know, especially this one, because all churches need security. It's not about an individual denomination or whatever. It's about protecting people, and protecting people of God. So again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on LASBA Podcast. God bless.